Welcome to an overview of the 6 pillars of TRIRIGA. TRIRIGA is an integrated workplace management system. It covers the full life cycle of facilities, from the time you're even thinking about acquiring or building a facility until you dispose of it. TRIRIGA has a common workplace platform. It has document management that allows you to upload virtually any kind of file that you want. And it has a portfolio of people, places, things, and works. People being users, external contacts. They might be tenants. They might be consultants, service providers. Places are locations, property, land, buildings. Buildings have floors, which have spaces, and spaces can have spaces. Things are assets. And of course, organizations, whether they are internal organizations such as companies, divisions, departments, or something external. Perhaps they are tenants, they're service providers, consulting firms. And finally, an important feature are the integrations. TRIRIGA can integrate with about anything, and often does. It may talk to an ERP system like SAP or Oracle or Microsoft Dynamics. Maybe a building management system, an energy management system, an RFID system, IBM Maximo. Of the 6 pillars of TRIRIGA, the first is real estate management. Real estate management starts with portfolio planning. When you're looking strategically at what you need to do with your facilities, and then it goes through finding sites, identifying one or more sites, and then the transaction to acquire or lease that site. The transaction may also be a receivables lease. You may be making a deal. And if you have a lease, you administer that lease and the abstracts. You have notifications, any kind of critical information, and you have the lease accounting side, such as is required by FASB. And if you have accounts receivable leases, you have AR tenant tracking. You have the ability to do invoicing, whether it's from the lease itself, maybe it's one-time charges. You have common area maintenance and OPEX types of reconciliations. You can have percent rent. You can process payments, whether that's outgoing payments and maybe sending those transactions to an ERP system. And of course, you have requests of your clients, whether they're internal or external. The second pillar is project management. These are capital projects. Maybe they're to build a building or retrofit. Maybe they're part of a program. So a project can have sub-projects. A project can belong to a program, and a project can belong to a sub-program. And then you have funding, where you have complex funding sources. Maybe if you look at, say, a university, where a university might want to build a new building, and the university has part of the funds itself. Maybe the government provides funds. Perhaps they have a bond referendum to provide funding, and the Alumni Association provides funds. So you can track all these different funding mechanisms against your projects and programs. And of course, we have to manage our scope and our cost. We have to manage schedule and resources. Not to confuse capital projects with something like Microsoft Project. We can import and export files in a Microsoft Project format. But capital projects in TRIRIGA is about the strategic view of your projects and your programs and your funding. And all the details associated when you get into like permits, different types of permits, closeout, checklist, vendor engagement, managing the bid process, managing contracts once they've been put out, managing the invoices and the status reports and change orders. The third pillar is space management. Now that we have our facility, we have our space, we need to manage that space. Who's in what seat? Who's in what office? Who's charged for that? Who needs space? Who wants to dispose of space? Strategic planning, such as restacks. Let's look at our space forecast and let's look at what our facilities look like now. What do we need to do? Do we want to dispose of space? We need to add space? What kind of scenarios do we have? Managing move requests. People move around, departments move. How do we manage all of that? Personnel provisioning, and finally CAD management. Taking for instance your AutoCAD drawings, and attaching to the TRIRIGA system so that the floor plans appear inside the portfolio. And you can run queries against those floor plans so you can look at maybe the type of space or maybe the organizations that are within the space. The fourth pillar is workplace resources. We need to be able to reserve meeting rooms. And then we might have entitlements. I need equipment. I want audio visual. I'm entitled to catering. What kind of catering menu do I have? How do I want the room set up? Managing my vendors, managing my visitors, managing equipment and vehicles. You can do this through a role like a workplace coordinator, or you can also get an interface that talks to Microsoft Outlook and Exchange so that people can reserve their own rooms. Fifth are operations and service. Now that we have our facility, we need to maintain it. We need to address corrective maintenance. The system allows you to schedule preventive maintenance procedures. Those tasks are scheduled based on a frequency that you set up. You can attach the procedure steps. You can attach documents, cost estimates, qualifications required by personnel. The system will look at work that has to be done and decide through the service assignment matrix who should be assigned that work. And that's based on things such as warranties, service agreements. It can be impacted by a lease or an owned property agreement. We can also manage the inventory, all of the different pieces and parts that we need, and create purchase requisitions and purchase orders. And of course, we may send those over to ERP for final processing. We have a contact center, a help desk. We can also do capital planning. And finally, we have environmental and energy management, the sustainability piece, or as we usually call it, TRIRIGA. This is about tracking CO2 emissions, but in some cases, people don't even want to calculate the CO2 emissions, but they would use this particular module as a core place to put in information around your electricity usage, your water usage, your waste, recycling. It would track green opportunities, environmental certifications such as LEED and BREEAM. And in the United States, you have Energy Star. At the end of the day, TRIRIGA has shared and common data. This database is a core repository of information on a facility. You can go into a building and you can see information from all of these pillars. You have one place to go and see a tremendous number of details. And the processes are all fully integrated as well. You're not maintaining disparate systems and hoping everything works well. It's one system, it's one platform, it's one set of processes, and it's a common database. And finally, you have Customer Request Central. Users have different sets of things they're entitled to do, different modules they have access to. Based on that, they can put in different kinds of requests for self-service. We also have business analytics. There were 167 KPIs in TRIRIGA. There are over 1,000 reports and query. And TRIRIGA also has advanced reporting such as BIRT, B-I-R-T. TRIRIGA is a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and it is a true integrated workplace management system. This concludes the short overview of the 6 pillars of TRIRIGA. Thank you very much for watching.